Hi, I'm Mary with Chelsea Soap Garden, and I'm here today to show you how to make our Hibiscus and Lavender goat milk soap making kit. Started, a couple things you probably want to have. It's good to have a whisk, spatula, spoon of some kind. If you have it, it's not necessary, but this is 91% rubbing alcohol, and we use this at the end once we pour our soap to disperse the bubbles. Scissors on hand to cut the vitamin E tablets if you're going to use them, and a knife or soap cutter or something like that. I'm going to open up our mold, and today we are using the round and oval floor cavity mold. So, to get started, I only want to get the soap to melting. I'm going to cut the soap in half. You can cut it in quarters, you can cut it in eighths. I might cut it in quarters, just it melts faster. And once you've done that, you want to place it into your double broiler. Have your suspension soap handy, although you're not going to add it yet. Just make sure you have it out. Again, you don't need to use the suspension soap unless you're going to be adding a dry botanical. The dry botanicals make an excellent exfoliant, but if you're making this soap for your face, you probably don't want to add it. So, I'm going to add the soap, the goat milk soap base, into the double broiler, and then I'm going to place this into a pot of boiling water. It's been melting for about 25 minutes. The soap is pretty well melted, so I'm going to add our suspension soap and give it about another 5 minutes, and then we'll start adding our ingredients. So I'm going to turn off the heat and remove this from the heat. Now normally I wouldn't do this, I would just add my ingredients here, but I'm going to transfer this into a clear measuring cup so you can see what I'm doing. And just a little tip, if you take the boiling water from your pot and pour it immediately into your double broiler, it cleans up very easily. Okay, so we've got our soap, and now I'm going to start with adding our color. You want to start with the color. Last thing you want to add is your fragrance and essential oil. You want to give it a couple minutes to just cool off a little bit. I'm going to use our pipette to put in the color because it's very easy to add too much. The color, again, you're in the kit, there's too much color in my opinion, but everybody likes a different intensity to it. I'm going to go for kind of a pale lavender, so the lavender buds stand out. But you can add as much till you get to a very, very bright purple, very strong. Again, I've only added a couple drops. And I'm going to show you what it's looking like. You want to be careful with this color. It is a mess if it gets on stuff. So, hopefully you can kind of see what that's looking like. A little pale lavender. Mixing that in real well. I'm using a whisk, but you can use a spoon, a fork. And now I'm going to add my fragrance oil. This is lavender fragrance oil. And I'm going to use another pipette, but you can pour this right in. And this is a personal taste. You can add as much as you, or as little of this as you like. Do not go over a ½ ounce per pound, or it will, it won't work. The soap won't harden, and you will not have a good quality soap. Now in this kit, there is only a ½ ounce in here, and there's only 1 pound of soap, so unless you have fragrance oil at home, that's as much as you can add, but some of our kits do have more. So, you want to smell it, make sure for you, personally, it's right. I've used about, I'm going to say a little more than half of the bottle. And I'm not going to use it all, only because I don't like a real overpowering fragrance. And I'm sensitive skin, lavender's great. It's also real moisturizing, but it is very strong. So, again, this is 5 milliliters. I've probably used about half. I would not suggest using all of it. The soap can seize. Mix that in real well. And for this particular kit, you are giving hibiscus flowers and lavender buds. I'm going to go with the lavender buds. You could use both. You can use just one. But these do make a great exfoliant for your skin. Again, if you're going to be making this for your face, I would not suggest adding a dry botanical. And then I'm going to sprinkle the lavender or the hibiscus flowers on top once I've poured it into the mold, just for more looks than anything else. And it will give one side of the soap a real strong abrasive exfoliant side to it. You want to make sure you've mixed this real well. The suspension soap, as I mentioned earlier, we added that so that the lavender buds or hibiscus flowers do not clump together, don't rise to the top, don't sink to the bottom. But if you do not stir it real well and give them a little bit to absorb, give the buds some time to absorb the liquid, they will still do that. So you do not want to wait to the point where this is starting to harden up. You want to make sure it's still in a liquid. If by chance you do, you can stick it in the microwave for 20 seconds and you should be good to go. So I'm going to stir this a little more. And once you start to see the lavender buds not floating on top, but dispersing through the liquid, you should be good to go. Now at this point, you want to have your alcohol, 91% rubbing alcohol ready. If you're going to use it, you don't have to. And in this case, since I'm going to be putting the hibiscus flowers on top of the soap after I pour it, it's really not necessary, but I'll do it just to show you. If you like a real moving around. So you want to get something underneath it, and that can be, I probably could do a better job, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to start to pour this. You want to pour it slowly, and make sure that you fill it all the way to the top. Don't worry about going over. You can scrape that off later. But if you do not fill it to the top, what's going to happen is it's going to be very hard to pop once it dries. And again, this is 1 pound of soap. I might go a little over, I might go a little under. If you have extra soap, you can save it. You can, in case you do want to use the rest of that. But I can wrap this up, put it in the fridge. When I find something I want to put it in, heat it up, pour it in. Okay, so here's my rubbing alcohol. Probably can't see this, but there's little bubbles in the soap. I'm going to pour that on there. Spray that on there. I'm going to take my whisk, push some of these lavender buds down into the soap, and sprinkle those on top a couple of the bars. Not all of them. There's 4 bars here. I'm going to sprinkle it on top of a couple of them. And you can use any kind of, raspberry seeds, sage, mint, lemongrass. We have all sorts of different kits that include different botanicals based on your preferences. I personally love the hibiscus flowers as an exfoliant. They don't really... Okay. So now I'm pretty much done. I'm going to spilled a couple of the flowers in the other one I didn't want it on, so just pick them out. And until you start to see a film start to take shape on top of the soap, you can still move the lavender around. Alright, so we are done. Now we're going to wait for it to dry. Probably best case scenario, if you can, is wait a day, wait overnight. The soap will generally harden up in about 2 to 3 hours, but it is much easier to pop when it's thoroughly dry, so I suggest waiting overnight. If you can't, or you're in a rush, after it's completely cooled and no longer warm to the touch, you can put it inside the refrigerator for 15 to 20 minutes and it should pop right out. So we'll come back after this is dry and take a look. We waited our 24 hours and we are now going to pop our melt and pour soap out. So what I would suggest, you don't have to do this, but if you want a real clean look, you're going to give it as a gift or something like that, you can take a soap cutter or a knife, don't use scissors, and just scrape the top of it to give it a cleaner line. So you can see here how much extra we had that spilled over. So I'm just gonna, okay. So what you want to do is just press it, pops out. There we have our soap. Lay it down on the table. You take a knife and just cut around the edges to get off all the excess soap. And again, if you're using this for yourself, you know, not necessary, but if you're giving the soap as a gift or using it in a guest bathroom, you want it to look professional, I would suggest doing that. And then just rounding it off. And we have our soap. There's the back of it. It smells fabulous. And then I'm going to pop out one that did not have anything on it, except for the lavender inside the soap. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just cut around the sides of it. I'm going to take my finger and run it around the side of it. A couple hibiscus flowers got in there, but no harm. Okay. And now we have our round bar. You can see the lavender has gotten through the soap. We don't have it clumped on the top or on the bottom. It's worked its way through. So it will be actually will be an exfoliant once you start using the soap. Cute way, if you are giving these as gifts, to wrap these up. Just it can get white. We have natural colored coffee filters. Just take your soap, place it with the rounded side on the bottom. You might want to trim it depending on the size of your soap. And wrap it around. And then if you're giving it as a gift, you can get some of those Avery stickers or any kind of labels. I have a brown craft paper round label. These are pre-printed actually, but I'm just going to show you. So you can take your label, you can write anything you want on it, happy birthday, congratulations, stick that on there, and there you have a little gift to give away. Do the same with the oval as well. Alright, well thanks for joining us. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have, we have some other tips and recipes on our website.